Okay, folks, so here we are. We're going to be talking about today about how to get your home ready for a winter sale. It is, well, it's not winter where I am.
Oh, it's definitely winter where I am, I tell you. Jim,
It's
this morning
19, 20 degrees where I am right now, and I believe it's below zero where you are.
Well, actually, this morning it was -9, and this morning at lunchtime I was at Anstruther.
Cool.
When I came back from Anstruther at 1 o'clock, it was still -4.
I've got to say though, it's blustery, but it's still better than back home.
Yeah.
Anyway, apart from that, you probably noticed I put a post on today, which was 2 years ago, actually showing the weekly sales across the whole of the Fife market last week, 2 years ago. How many properties were actually listed, how many properties were sold. And that actually showed that there was actually less properties at that week 2 years ago than this week right now. It was 63, and this last week was round about, I think it was about 83 or thereabouts. So it still convinces me that the market's still actually quite buoyant for the right type of property. Would that be a fair assessment?
I think it is a fair assessment, and certainly we are still inundated with inquiries. We're speaking to potential sellers still every day. The phone actually this week has been quite busy compared to last week, if I'm being honest. So that's telling me there's a lot of activity there in the housing market still.
I think it was quite interesting as well, because I put another one on today, or it's maybe coming on soon, because I think I pre-programmed it, which actually talked about the number of sale fall-throughs from month to month in the run-up to November. And it's actually the least amount of sale fall-throughs for the last 4 months in November than it was every other month before. So again, it tells me that there's still people out there ready to buy and ready to go. Do you think it's just because it's based on circumstances? People's circumstances, that they've got to sell anyway, so they may as well do it now. Probably now's the best time, because your Boxing Day bounce coming up, and this is where all the activity happens. It's a record amount of people coming on the websites just after, basically on Boxing Day itself. Christmas is over, Christmas Day, and you get people on. I actually had last year, I had people on our website on Christmas Day. And I know that because I was sad enough to look at the numbers real time. Because we have that in analytics in real time. When people hit our website, it tells us straight away. So there was about 8 or 10 people on our website looking at properties. And it's like, I'm not really sure if that was a good thing. You know what happens at Christmas and New Year? That tends to be when people go.
It could be pressure points.
Yeah, it's that exacerbates the situation. But we're also talking about winter. It is winter right now, and it is absolutely freezing back home. So, contrary to several recent articles about the housing market, we can confirm that the people in Fife are actually still buying and selling homes. So, if you're considering putting your home up for sale, this is what we're going to say. Here's 3 tips to help you through that, to get your property ready when hitting the market in these winter months and the cold months itself right now. What's the first one? What's the first one you would say is the most important, Perry?
I think for me, it's that first impression, isn't it? Because your first impression is exactly that. And that's really difficult. I mean, you're not seeing it today, Jim, but you're driving around and the cars are all covered in yuck because of it. The pavements are all yucky as well. So there is a bit of an impression there that can be created because the weather's not so great here. But your curb appeal is a must do. So I think that's your big effect that you're putting on your property, is that curb appeal and the instant interaction that someone will have. So whatever you want to call it, there's no escaping that people make snap judgments, and they'll do that on property as well as in life in general. But certainly when they see it for the first time, and in winter months, the first impression can be hindered because of the things that we've said. And we reckon that really, actually, within the first 30 seconds, people have an initial view on whether it's positive or negative. So I think mud-splattered front doors is not a great thing, and that's really hard when the weather's like it is just now, of course. Tired looking front gardens and driveways. So, okay, it's winter, but actually your garden can look great in the winter as well, and you can spruce it up a bit. And I think making sure it's tidy and you've got all those dead leaves out the way, and actually at this time of the year you can brighten up with some nice lights outside, and that's quite appealing to people as well. Brightens up your dark pathways. I mean, we're all struggling with that when we get home nights, because nights are dark now, aren't they? So I think that's nice leading up to your entrance, and there's lovely ways that you can do that. I maybe wouldn't go for a big inflatable Santa, mind you. You might want to quit on that one.
That's a really good point, though. I know people have got their Christmas decorations up now, but ideally, if you're just about to put them up and you were thinking about getting your house in the market pretty soon, then get them taken before you put them up. However, if you have put them up, you can actually get them airbrushed out, because we've done that before. So if you've got a big Christmas tree sitting in a corner of a room, you can actually airbrush that out in photographs, and you'd never ever think it was there before.
Yeah, so there are ways that we can work around that. But I think your home's numbers not being visible as well from the street's a big thing. At the moment, everyone's hanging wreaths and things on the door as well. And actually that can hide the number of your property. And if people are coming later in the day and it's no surprise, that can be quite tricky for people to find it as well. And if they think it's a hassle, sometimes people will just give up.
Stress point. It's another stress point which a buyer does not need when they're coming to view your property. So make it really easy for them, even if it's a wee LED battery light that you stick on your door number before they arrive, or down at the bottom of the drive where we have ours. So somebody can actually see it, and then you just take the LED light away again, just so they know it's there, or a house light you put outside, just so they know that there's somebody. I mean, it's a typical thing when you put a house light, a porch light out on outside your vestibule. People often take that as a sign of a welcome. So it would naturally, when people are driving around looking for your house, they would think, well, that might actually be it then, because that light's on.
Absolutely, and you're drawn to it as well. And I actually had that experience myself. I was out at a property yesterday, and it's quite a new estate. So actually seeing the signs went right, and I couldn't follow the numbers because I got to a certain number, and then actually the numbers changed. And then the two houses around the corner, I couldn't actually see the numbers because they were so far back from the street. It was exactly that. So I didn't actually even know if I was in the right place. So then I started to feel getting a bit of agitation, and that's what your viewer will feel, won't they? And that's a negative impact straight away, which you don't want to give.
That's the key thing, what I think most sellers have to be aware of. How would you feel yourself going around to view somebody's property in the circumstances you've got right now, if you've got your house in the market? So whatever you would want to happen, an experience you would want to have, then do that for your buyer. That's exactly what it is. That's it. Everybody says to me, like, how come you're so successful at this? And I'm like, I just do what I would expect myself.
That's it.
That's ultimately it. There's no secret formula to that. I just give people what I would expect.
And that's the thing, isn't it? And if that's the level that you give, then the chances are that you're going to have a good communication and interaction, aren't you?
Yeah. So it's that little awareness and action about what you've just spoke about, and the relatively easy fixes will make a big difference. For me, I think as well, there's a great feeling when you walk into a cozy and welcoming home. As soon as you open that door and get into that home, and it's cozy, not overpowering. So just cozy, nice and warm. Yeah, it is cold outside at this point in time, but creating that comfortable feel for people to view your home is really, really important. Again, it's kind of, we talk about the first impression, but sometimes you do get the second impression to make a good first impression, a second chance, and this is it. But it could also be another way that you could put somebody off if they walk into a freezing cold house.
It totally does, actually. And I've had a mixed situation over yesterday and today. So last night when I went to that property and I walked in, because it was so cold, I was like, oh, that's lovely. And it was just so welcoming. So straight away I had this positive feeling about it. Yeah. And then today I was at a different property and there was no heating at all. And I went in and I thought, oh God, I'm freezing. I didn't get any warmer. So suddenly I was like, almost like you couldn't get around quick enough because you wanted to get out in the car and get the heating back on.
Yeah. Which is why for people that have maybe got second homes that they're trying to sell and they're doing the viewings for them, get there a wee bit earlier and make sure you get the heating on just to heat the place up, just to take the chill out of the air. It doesn't need to be a full blast for the 3 hours before. If you've even got Hive or Nest or whatever that mechanism's called, where you can put it on from your phone, the heating system, then do that before someone arrives, just to take the chill out of the air. And a rule of thumb regarding your home's temperature when potential buyers view is that it shouldn't feel cold to someone wearing an outdoor coat. And the flip side is it shouldn't be too warm, which maybe unless due to an increase in energy costs, that someone would need to take their coat off to cool down. So it's that sort of in between balance. Also as well, a really good one, which I would suggest, is if you've got foot covers at this time of year, stick them at the front door. It immediately tells your buyer that they need to cover their feet before you come in. So nobody gets upset, nobody gets aggravated. Now you do think, oh, well, would that not put them out of sorts? Absolutely not. It won't, because the most important thing is they feel comfortable in the fact that somebody's now leading them to what to do next, rather than them looking at their boots and thinking, I've been in a field, or I've been traipsing through the mud or the snow,
Yeah.
and I just feel comfortable now that I'm walking around your house because you've got beige carpets everywhere, or you've got new carpets. It's like, and that makes them feel really uneasy. So in order for to make them feel at ease, and especially if you've got tiled floors somewhere, you put foot covers, because if they take their boots off or their shoes off and they've got bare feet, or they've got socks on, and they go into tiled floors, it'll be cold. And no
Absolutely.
one likes cold feet. No one likes cold feet, even though it's a cozy house. So that's why I think it's really worth it, actually investing in good quality foot covers. Now, most agents will have them with them anyway if they're doing the viewings. So I mean, I keep a set in my, a lot of them in my boot, rolls and rolls of them just in case for these moments, as well as your agent might actually leave some for you as well, just for one-off views that you want to do yourself, or they will do as well, and just in case they arrive without them, then they're there anyway. So I think it's a really important thing to do that. Anything else you think would be welcoming though?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for me, I think that foot covering thing's a really big thing. And actually, I did have that experience yesterday with someone as well. And they came and had their winter boots, and I could see them looking at their feet and going, oh gosh, what do I do? What do I do? So it was actually quite nice for me to say, rather than you kind of go to all the stress of, because the baby in the carrier and everything as well. So it was very much a case of get them comfortable with themselves. And so I just said, this is easier. And it just made their experience a positive one.
And I would say as well, here's a wee tip for the guys, and I really mean that. It's like, if you've got an elderly person, offer to put the foot covers on for them as well.
Yes.
And you know what I do? I put the foot covers on and go, it fits. That Cinderella moment. And it's just that it just breaks the ice, and it just gets everybody, because I mean, most people that are elderly, it's like, God, I'm not going to get down there in order to put these on. So it's, get on your hands and knees and volunteer to put them on for them. Just that these extra special things makes it really easy for people to negotiate with you, and actually for people to look around your house as well in a stress-free environment. You were just about to say, Perry.
No, I think it's really important, and you make a valid point. But I think on top of all of that, I mean, we're talking about those two things, but I think as well, also choosing your right estate agent is a big thing for you. I mean, no matter what season you're selling in, you have to have that person that can turbocharge it and your chances of getting a successful sale, really. And that's one of the things that we talk about frequently, isn't it? It's like, what can we do to turbocharge it to get the best outcome from the client? And it's all of those things combined that we're speaking about. And like you said, Jim, as well, it's also the opportunity to, if there's something quite not right in the photos, because we do use a professional photographer, we were able to do those edits and wipeouts, which I think is a big plus as well, isn't it?
I think it's quite handy to tell people as well, is don't be afraid that your photos have got frost or snow in them, because they're meant to this time of year. You'll actually, it'll look odd with other properties coming onto the market if you've got bright, beautiful flowers and sunshine in yours, because that's not normal for that time of year. And it might actually put some buyers off, because they might actually think your property's been sitting on the market for quite a while. So, and I have had it where people have actually said, oh, I took photographs in the summertime, can you use them? And I'm like, absolutely not. That's not happening. I says, it'll just look out of place, and people will think there's something wrong, because it'll look normal. So that's not what you should do. You have to make sure it's not. There's other ways to get your property to stand out of its unique features, rather than actually do something like that, as well as video. If you're doing a proper talk up and you're walking through with people and you're actually talking beforehand, the people have actually seen it, more than likely have seen the video and the talk up when we've gone through. Therefore, they kind of know where the house is, and it's almost just they're coming round to just confirm with themselves that actually what they're actually about to see is what they saw in the video. And if everything's fine, more than likely they're more over the line to actually possibly more than they were before.
Yeah, it's almost really just an endorsement, isn't it, that final part?
Yeah. So a good agent will always make sure your people are viewing your home in person, have been appropriately vetted to ensure that they're serious about moving, and they're also in the financial position to do that as well. At this time of year, there's a lot of people genuinely have to revisit their finances and actually just check with their mortgage broker or their bank that they're still in a position to get that mortgage that they had before. If you're about to run out of your mortgage in principle that you've been offered, then actually I would suggest you go back and look at it again with your bank to make sure you can have a longer period now, and you can have an extension to that to make sure when you do make an offer, if you do see your dream home, this will actually go through rather than actually letting down. Because the last thing you want to do is let that person down, the seller, but more importantly, that you let the estate agent down, and then what will happen is you'll get a reputation.
Yeah.
And then people will realise that, you know, if you keep doing that, that you'll get a reputation and they won't do business with you, or you might end up losing out your dream home because it comes to a matter of this person's done this before, doesn't it? I don't think people realise that is the case. I don't think people realise that is the case out there as buyers. And you know, the fact that if you keep turning around and saying and making an offer and then pulling out, making an offer, pulling out, making an offer, pulling out, then you get a reputation, and then eventually all the estate agents don't actually believe you anymore. It's like the boy that cried wolf.
Yeah, very much so, and it really is a very negative position to be in. And you know, we often talk about the fact that actually put yourself in that seller's situation. How would you feel if that happened to you? And you know, it's literally, as you said at the outset of this discussion, it's about treat people how you expect to be treated. And so you have to, there's a level of commitment and respect there when you actually put that offer in. It's the biggest asset that anybody has, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to see if I could find our blog on preparing your home for winter from Fife Properties that we did a wee while back, because it's actually quite a good one. Preparing your Fife home for winter. Save that on. Yep, 5 top tips. Here we go. So this is 5 top tips. I'm going to put this in the comments, folks, and you could read that at your own leisure as well. This is about preparing your Fife home for winter, and this will give you a wee bit of information. It's things like, for example, the boiler, filling all the gaps, making sure you've got your drains cleared and everything like that as well. It's just other things as well that you might need to know in the process, and might need to just double check just to make sure everything's okay. So I'll stick that in the notes right there. So you'll get that in the comments coming up right now. And that's us. Thanks for coming on, Perry. If you've got any questions after this and a rerun, please feel free to message us direct, or you can comment in the questions and we will come back to you. Bye-bye for now.